Okay, so hello all, good evening. So welcome back to our session. In last class, which topic we have seen? Deployment namespace done, right? Okay, fine. So in today's session, we'll speak about Kubernetes cluster, like multi-node. Sunil, Portainer notes is not on Google Drive, Sunil. I said you Portainer notes is on the project, okay? Go to the project repository, you can see it there. What is the name of the concept here we are going to do? It's Kops, okay? So in today's session, we are going to speak about like what is KOPS and why we are going to use it. Already you know. So mini cube used for single node cluster or multi-node cluster? Single node cluster, which is relevant for working in developing environment and testing environment and for local. But in production, can we use mini cube? No, why? Why we can't? It's a single node. So if the node got deleted, entire application will be gone. For that purpose, in production level, we can use the cluster called KOps cluster. That means basically it's a tool actually. It's a tool which is used to create the clusters in real time. So KOps can create the infrastructure. First of all, what is the meaning of infrastructure? Resources used to run our application on the. That means, for example, in cloud, if I want to run my application, do I need to have database service or not, sir? Do I need to have servers or not, sir? Do I need to have VPC or not, sir? Virtual private cloud. So all of these factors, I need to run the application on the cloud. So what are the examples here? So EC2 is one of the cloud resource. So VPC and ALB means application load balancer. Correct or not, sir? So these KOPs can create complete infrastructure. Okay, so infrastructure indicates resources to run our application on the cloud. So EC2 is one of the example for infrastructure. Why? Because we need a server. VPC, we need to provide for privacy and security. ALB stand for application load balancer. Okay, fine. So now if we go, for example, let's take Minikube. What is Minikube? It's a basically single node cluster. That means here everything will be running on single node only. Pods, services like replica set, even deployment, everything you are going to run on the single node only. But whereas if you can see the KOps is a multi-node cluster. Multi-node cluster means here in this cluster you have more than one worker node, sir. You have one worker node, you have two, you have three, you have four. Like that, you can have 10, some up to like a 10, like based upon your requirement. 10 means not 10. Like how much you want, that many worker nodes you can able to create. So KOps full form is what, sir? Here Kubernetes operation. Basically, it's a tool actually. It's a third-party tool. Write this point first of all. KOps is a third-party tool used to create the Kubernetes cluster. KOps is a third-party tool used to create the Kubernetes cluster. So Sunil, VPC is separate concept. Okay, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it. Okay. VPC means virtual private cloud. It's a very separate topic. I'll teach you what exactly it is. What is the KOps full form, sir? Kubernetes operation. It's a open source tool that help you to create, destroy, and upgrade high availability production grade Kubernetes cluster. That means with the help of KOps, you can create the cluster, you can delete it, and you can upgrade it also. So it's a production level cluster, sir. Which level cluster? So depending upon the requirement, that means if you have any requirement, KOps can also create cloud infrastructure. You don't know what is the meaning of cloud infrastructure as of now, but we can create the entire infrastructure with the help of KOps also. KOps is used mostly in AWS and GC clusters, but officially these tools support only for AWS. And some other tools like DigitalOcean, GCP, and OpenStack. So still this is on developing stage. Which stage? So again, one more time. So KOps means Kubernetes operation. It can able to create, upgrade, and destroy your production level Kubernetes cluster. So depending upon the requirement, it can also create the cloud infrastructure. Mostly Kops we're gonna use on AWS and GCP, but some other cloud providers like DigitalOcean, like as well as OpenStack, these are still on developing stage. Which stage? Fine. Sir, like what are the advantages of KOps? It is very easy. So if you see, KOps can automate the provisioning of AWS and GCP clusters in Kubernetes. That means if you want to create the cluster automatically without manual work, entire everything will be automated. Remember, if you run only one single command, I'm talking about only one single command. That single command can able to run the entire cluster. Okay. Deploy high availability Kubernetes master. What is the meaning of high availability? More than one. Next, support rolling cluster update. That means, for example, initially you create 2 worker nodes, but if you want to go for 4 worker nodes, you can create 4 worker nodes also. That is called as rolling the clusters. Okay. Next, auto completion of command line tool. It can generate the Terraform and CloudFormation configuration. Terraform and CFT, these both are tools. Don't worry about them as of now. It is going to have the cluster add-ons. Okay. So for Minikube, you've seen metric server, right? Seen metric server. We gave the command Minikube enable add-on metric server, right? Minikube add-on enable metric server. So for cluster, we need to integrate some third-party add-ons. In Kubernetes KOps also, we can integrate the third-party add-ons. Support state sync model for dry rinse and automatic dependency. Create the instance group to support heterogeneous cluster. What is the meaning of heterogeneous cluster? Different flavors of your cluster. That means one is Red Hat, one is Ubuntu, one is CentOS, like that. Already we've seen in the Ansible class. Which class? So when it comes to the alternatives, so we have Amazon EKS, alternative for KOps, Minikube, alternative for KOps, Kubedium, Rancher, Terraform. So these are the other alternative tools which we can use to create the clusters. Okay, if not KOps, these are the remaining alternatives for your cluster creation. Fine. So now in this case, if you want to set up the KOps, how to set up the KOps means it's going to be a lengthy process, but we are going to automate in tomorrow's session. Today, I'll show you manual method. In tomorrow's session, I'm going to make it automation for you. So if you go and see. We go to here. Arsenal script here. In tomorrow's class, we are going to run this script. Okay. In today's session, I'm going to run it manually. So now see, only 2 points about KOps. KOps is a third-party tool which can create the Kubernetes high availability cluster. Okay. So this we are going to use for automation purpose. Cluster generally we create manually, but this will create the cluster entire automatically. For that purpose, here you need to understand the steps. First of all, giving permission. See, sir, now see, I am using which kind of cloud? AWS cloud or not, sir? Now see, it's my AWS cloud actually. In the cloud, I want to create servers, databases. I want to create load balancer. I want to create auto scaling group. Everything I want to create. But is this KOps a default AWS service or it's a third party tool? It's a third party tool, which is not AWS service. So whenever a third party tool want to create some infrastructure on your AWS, we need to give permission for them. Without permission, can this tool create infrastructure? This tool want to create infrastructure on my cloud. That means if I give permission only, then only that tool can create. Correct or not, sir? So for that purpose, here for the KOps, I am gonna give permission to create the cluster. So if I want to give permission in cloud level, there is a concept called AWS IAM. Which concept? Identity and access management, which you are going to learn in our upcoming days. Not now, but for as of now, just see this. Click on IAM. So try to create a new user. Click on user. I'm already having one Terraform user. I can use credentials of this also, but I want to show you how to generate credentials. Click on create user. I'm writing 4 p.m. Kops user. So click on here. I want to create the IAM user. Passwords, you have two types, auto and custom. You can select whatever you want. Click on next. Going to attach policies. Here I want to give admin access. Admin access means he can do whatever he want or not, sir. Next. Create user. Are you seeing the CSV file here? So click on download. Why? Because this file you are going to use on upcoming days. Fine. So now you create the users, but for this user, you are going to give the permissions. So again, come back to the users here. Select your user. Are you seeing security credentials? You need to create the access keys here. Click on access key. Select CLI. Click on I understand the above recommendation. Next. Next. Download. Basically, this is required. Okay. First one is optional. If you want to download, you can download. But second one is mandatory. Must need to download this one. Done. So what I have done is I just go and I just create a user. How to create a user? Click on create user. Username, whatever you want to give. So click on attach policies. Here, which permission I'm giving? Admin access. Next. Create the user. But I'm not creating. I'm just showing you. Once you create the user, you want to give access keys for him. So select the user. Click on security credentials. So here click on access keys. So select the first option and last checkbox. Next. Next. So already you can get the access keys and secret keys. So like this, you can able to get the access keys and secret keys of a user, sir. Why to get the access key and secret key means, I already said, is Kops a inbuilt AWS service or third party tool? So for third party tool, we need to provide permission. For Kops, I need to provide the permission. To provide the permission, I have taken the access keys and secret keys from the AWS. Now, if I give the access keys and secret key, now from the AWS, if I give the if I give the access key and secret key to KOps, it can do whatever you want in the AWS account. It can create the entire cluster. So now see here, I have given this one step-by-step process I have given. Okay. So how to select the options, each one, everything I have given. Now, if I want to attach that access key and secret key for the tool, I need to run AWS configure. Where need to run on? Server. So already I have one server or not, sir? Kops server. Connect your Kops server. Any bottle there? Okay, question from Sunil. So earlier we haven't created any security keys. What is the difference? Tell me one thing. Earlier, everything we install from commands. Yum install Git, yum install Maven, yum install Jenkins, yum install Ansible, yum install Docker. Everything you install from the inbuilt package manager. But KOps is not an inbuilt package manager, right? So that we need to download separately. And earlier, all the tools haven't created anything on my server. They just install on my server. Okay. But this Kops tool will install on my server and will create the infrastructure. Hope it is clear for you, Sunil. Sudo -i. So first of all, give AWS configure. Now, what are the keys you downloaded, right? Second key is access key and secret key. That key you need to provide here. So if I go to downloads, in the downloads, I can go and see here. Are you seeing access key? Copy this one. Next, it is asking secret key. Are you seeing secret key? Okay, copy this one. One more thing, whenever you are providing access key and secret key, make sure that you are not missing any character and space should not be given. I want to create my infrastructure on US East 1. Which region? And output I want to see on table format. That's it. It's the step number 1. So now see, in step number 1, what we have done, we have given the permission. For that purpose, which service we used, sir? IAM. After giving the IAM, so we generate the user. For that user, we give the credentials, user secret key and access keys. And how I attach that permission to my server by running AWS configure. Is it command clear now? Fine. Now, second steps is going to be installing Kops and kubectl. Sir, Kops and kubectl is not a command of Linux. These commands we are downloading from internet. So whenever you download any command from internet, what are the 2 major things you are going to do? Already I said in the last class. First of all, you need to give executable permission and you need to move them user local bin. Why we need to move to user local bin? Loudly. All the executable commands in Linux is going to be stored on user local bin. As well as we need to give chmod command to make it as a command. Otherwise, it won't make as a command. First link will download kubectl. Second link will download KOps. Third one is going to give permission for Kops and kubectl. Fourth command is going to move kubectl to user local bin. Fifth command will move Kops to user local bin. So all of these commands I'm executing at single time for your clarity. Done. Now, basically what happens is, whenever you download any command in Amazon Linux, we need to mention that path. In Ubuntu, path mentioning is not required. Already kubectl is installed, right? If I give the command kubectl -- version, kubectl version, is it working? No. Where is your kubectl in general? Kubectl is on user local bin. Here is my kubectl. Now is it working? So I need to tell to my server, whenever I execute the kubectl command, take the kubectl from user local bin path. Of course, Kops also I install. If I give the command Kops version, it's not going to work. Why? Because what is the path of the Kops? User local bin. Is it working now? So we need to mention to the server, whenever I execute the Kops and kubectl command, if you don't find the command on my local, go to user local bin. Okay. So I need to mention that to my server. How to mention means vam.bash rc. Go here and give the command export export path is equal to $path :/user local bin. Clear no? So that is telling me that whenever I run the any command, if the command is not working, check on user local bin. Now give the command source.bash rc. Source.bash rc. It's done now. Now run command on your local kubectl version. Is kubectl working normally? And how about Kops, sir? Is Kops working normally? How it is working normally now? Why not it is working previously fine? Why? Because previously we haven't mentioned the path. for our server to take commands from user local bin. But now I mentioned, you can ask me, but sir, in Minikube, we haven't done this one, right? In Minikube, it is not required. But for Amazon Linux, it is required. Is the concept clear now? Fine. So again, step number 1, step number 2. Sir, creating infrastructure means what, sir? Bit confusion. First of all, if I complete the concept, if you see it, then you will have the clarity. If you don't see the infrastructure, how can you get the clarity, Sunil? You need to wait for it, na? Hmm. Not permissions, this path. In Ubuntu also we give permission, but this path have I used this command .bash rc for Ubuntu? See, in Ubuntu also I install kubectl, right? But here also I'm installing kubectl. But in Ubuntu, have I given .bash rc? But why I'm giving here? Why? Because this required .bash rc execution. Fine. So now tell me, step number 1 is giving the permission. Step number 2 is installing kubectl in Kops. Are these 2 steps clear first of all for everyone? All in, what about you? Can you please confirm, are these 2 steps clear for all of you or not? Fine. So now in step number 3, I'm going to create a bucket, sir. What I'm going to create? So basically what happens is, what is the bucket first of all? Buckets are nothing but your AWS storage service. If you want to store any object, that means files, folders, videos, images, anything. If you want to store an object, you can use the bucket. So now tell me, whenever I create the cluster, will the cluster have master nodes or not, sir? Again, will the cluster have worker nodes or not, sir? And the cluster will have pods, replica set, and deployment or not, sir? All of this information we need to store. So for that purpose, we need to use S3 bucket. What we need to use? See, it is my cluster as of now. It is my cluster. Inside this cluster, I have master nodes and I have worker nodes. What I have? So in worker nodes, I have 2 pods. So for example, all of this entire cluster information, if I want to store, I can use AWS S3 bucket. The moment if I use AWS S3 bucket, data is going to store from cluster to bucket. Even though if you delete your cluster, your data is going to be safe on bucket or not, sir? That's the reason I am creating the bucket. So here, AWS S3 API create bucket. I am creating the bucket called DEVOPS batch November 6 p.m.kds.local. So you can change this name. Already this bucket has been created. DEVOPS batch December 4 p.m. Okay, .kds.local. Let me give this. If you go and run this command, automatically bucket will be created. But before that, see, go here and type S3. Currently, do you have any bucket like that? All right. So now if I go, I'm having only 4 buckets as of now. If I run this command, I can get the bucket number 5. Is the bucket created? Just to go and click on refresh. Are you seeing the bucket number 5 here? So now if I create any object in Kubernetes, the output is going to store on this bucket, sir. Where is the output going to store? That means even though if you delete that object, in bucket it is going to show. Fine. So next that, here what I'm going to show is, sir, here whenever you create the bucket, in that bucket you are going to put the objects. That is very, very fine. But here now what my question is, whenever you are putting any object in the bucket, okay, see, in the bucket I have one file. If I delete that file, what will happen? In, like, for example, see, in the bucket I have one file. If I delete that file will be lost or not, sir? For that purpose, in AWS S3 bucket, we can enable the versioning. What we can enable? First of all, what is the meaning of versioning? Means even though if you delete a file, it can able to restore that file. For that purpose, here I am telling. First command, AWS S3 API, create bucket. That means create a bucket. This is the bucket name and bucket I'm creating on which region, sir? East one. Now again with the help of AWS S3 API, put bucket versioning, hyphen bucket. For this bucket, it is on US East 1A and I'm giving versioning configuration status is equal to enable. Currently it is disabled. I need to enable it first. Is it enabled now? Now finally, I am running the command export pop state store. That means inside the Kops, I'll be having cluster. That cluster information I am going to export to this bucket. Cluster information I'm going to export to that bucket. So it is going to be a step number 3, sir. Again, one more time. Step number 3. First one, I create the bucket. Why I create the bucket? To store the information of cluster. Next, I enable versioning. Why enable versioning? Because to restore the file. If I delete the file on bucket, it is going to restore. Now, last command is going to export the information from cluster to bucket. Like that. So first command is giving the permissions. Second command is installing Kops and kubectl. You install Kops, you install kubectl, you give executable permission for both, and you are moving to user local bin. Why you are moving to user local bin? Because all the commands is going to store on user local bin. And I need to run the .bash rc. Why? Because I need to tell to my server commands you need to take from user local bin. Otherwise it won't take. Have you seen it or not, sir? Now step number 3, I'm creating the bucket. Why I'm creating the bucket? To store the cluster information. First command is to create the bucket. Second command is to enable versioning. Third command is to export the information. Now finally, command number 4, it is going to be the last command. With the help of Kops, I am creating the cluster. Name of the cluster is going to be rahams.kts.local. This is the cluster name. What it is? And hyphen zone. I'm going to create this on US East 1A availability zone. Masters. How many masters I have? 1. What is the size of master? T2. And worker nodes. How many worker nodes I'm taking? 2. And what is the size of worker nodes? T2 micro. Run this command. Again, with the help of Kops, I am creating the cluster. Name of the cluster is rahams.kts.local. And zone. So I am going to take it from US East 1A. And master. How many master do I have? And master size is T2 medium. And node is equal to 2. What is the node size here? T2 micro. So now the moment if you see this one, your cluster is ready to create. It's not created yet, but it is ready to create. So if you give this command, see suggestions, remember this suggestion, Kops get cluster. If you run this command, you are going to see list of clusters. Second thing, for example, sir, in cluster, if I want to edit any property, give the command Kops edit cluster dot rahams.kts.local. That means this, if you want to edit anything on the cluster, you can edit. Run this command. Currently, your cluster name is rahams.kts.local. No, sir, if I want to get abc.kts.local, you can change here. And if you scroll down, for example, in your cluster, you have the network of 172 Cs. If you want to change the subnet, you can be able to change the subnet. Okay. So like this, you can change entire cluster information. No, sir, if I want to create this cluster, run this command, last command. Kops update cluster hyphen name of the cluster hyphen. Yes, and at last hyphen admin. The moment if you run this command, it will take exactly 5 minutes from now to create the cluster. How many minutes? But don't worry. This day, I shown you the manual process. In tomorrow's class, we are going to run the script for it. All of you know how to run the script, right? That is going to be on tomorrow's session. But for today, I said you the manual process. And if you want to see what is happening behind the scenes, run this command, Kops validate cluster. If you run the command Kops validate cluster, now it is going to show you what is happening. So exactly by 7-8, 5-8, your cluster is going to be on ready status. So wait for it. It will take few seconds, okay? Don't worry about it. Exactly by 7, like 5, 8 or 5, 9, your cluster will be on ready state. You will get lot of errors, ignore them, okay? Fine. So if you see, your cluster is currently ready. Exactly it took 5 minutes or not, sir? By 5, 8, the cluster is on ready status. So now if you go and see, I'll tell you what is the meaning of infrastructure now. Infrastructure definition is resources used to run our application on the cloud, right? For example, see, if I go here, check the servers, check the servers of running. Are you seeing the master nodes and worker nodes, sir? Are you seeing the master nodes and worker nodes? How this created with the help of that single command, correct or not? Scroll here. Click on volumes. Are you seeing the volumes created for us? ETCD. ETCD means Kubernetes component or nodes. Come scroll down. Load balancer. Are you seeing the load balancer for our cluster? It's for Kubernetes cluster. rahames.kts.local. Come to the auto scaling group. Are you seeing the auto scaling group here? For master node, you have one auto scaling group, and worker node, you have the auto scaling group. And even though if you go for VPC here, your VPC will be ready. VPC is nothing but virtual private cloud for our cluster. Okay. It's going to provide privacy and security for our cluster. All this you are going to see on the upcoming days in AWS sessions. Go for your VPCs. Here, if you go and click on refresh, are you seeing the VPC here? Are you able to see it or not, sir? Like that. So, this is a CIDR range. If you go for subnets, are you seeing the subnet here? It is also for our cluster. Like this entire infrastructure is going to create. And what is the best advantage, Here, if you try to delete one worker node, automatically it will be recreated. Here, if you try to delete one worker node, automatically it is going to be recreated. If you want me to show it is worker node 1, right? Click on this one, click on instances, click on terminate. For example, due to load, that server got terminated due to load actually. For example, let's consider the moment if that server got deleted within the next second, it is going to create one more server. But still it is shutting down straight. Wait for complete shutdown. You will get the new server running. Let me filter out the running servers. Currently only one master and one worker node is there, right? It is going to automatically recreate one more worker node. Currently, if you go and see there, is it completely gone or terminated? Is it gone or not? Now wait for few seconds. You can see one more new server. Wait, it will come. Are you seeing new one is coming now? This one which status? Have I created the server or it is automatically creating? It's a best advantage or not, sir? Till now we have seen container auto creation. We have seen pod auto creation. But is now server automatically recreating? How that is going to be done means with the help of kops. That only single command. Kops create cluster, name of the cluster, master node, worker node size, hyphen, yes, that's it. That command will take care of this everything. Okay, like that. Now see, it is on pending status and it came to again which status, guys? Running. So like this, even if you delete master node also, it is going to recreate automatically. We don't do that manually. Even if I try to remove this one, it is automatically going to recreate. And already we discussed, right? So the cluster information is going to store on S3 bucket, correct or not, sir? So if you go and see, go for S3 bucket, it is our S3 bucket. It is our cluster or not, sir? Click on this cluster. Is in the complete information? Are you able to see it or not? So like this, it is going to work for you. Is the concept clear for all of you now? Like this. So now even though if you create the pods here, pod information is also going to store on that bucket. Even though if you create deployment information also going to create on that cluster. That means complete information of this cluster is going to create on that bucket. This is what we can call as infrastructure. Servers, auto scaling group, load balancer, VPC. This all together what we can call as infrastructure. What we can call as in real time, if you want to run any application on the cloud, all these are going to be mandatory for you. Is the point clear for all of you now? Right. So all in is the process of KOps installation is clear for all of you. Can you please confirm me once? And in the meanwhile, let's see this one more time. First of all, what is the meaning of KOps, sir? Is it to create the infrastructure? What is the meaning of infrastructure? Resource you turn our application on the cloud. We create the EC2, we create VPC, we create application load balancer. So minikube, basically minikube is a single node cluster. If you delete this single node cluster, everything is going to be gone. For that purpose, we create KOps. KOps, we can create multi-node cluster. We can create, we can upgrade, we can deploy, we can do everything, whatever you want. So what is the first step I have given here? Giving. Why? Because Kops is third-party tool. Without giving permission, it won't create infrastructure on my local. For that purpose, I use IAM here and I get the keys. How I given keys to my server? AWS configure. What is your step number 2? Loudly. What is your step number 2? Install kubectl and kops. Basically, are these two direct command for our Linux? No. So we download it. We download from internet. We given the executable permission and we move to user local bin. next year. We need to export the path also. Why? Because if we don't export path, server will not run the commands properly. Step number 3 is creating the bucket. Why we need to create the bucket? To store the information of the cluster. All the cluster information is going to store on the test3 bucket. Okay. First command is to create the bucket. Second command is to enable the bucket versioning. Third command is to export the data. Now fourth command is to create the cluster. That's it. We want to list the cluster. The command is kops get. We want to edit your cluster information. Kops edit cluster, name of the cluster. We want to edit your worker nodes. Run this command. Kops edit IG, name of the cluster, node EVSist1 name. No, sir, if I want to edit master node, you need to run this command. I'll tell you how to edit those one. But before that, is the process of creating cluster for all of you clear? Everyone? Fine. So now I'm going to show you how to scale the cluster automatically. For example, currently if you run the command kops get cluster, how many nodes you are having, sir? 2 worker nodes and 1 master node. Okay. So give the command kubectl get envo. Kubectl get envo means get nodes. For example, if I want to edit that information, already I shown you the command here. Kops edit cluster IG. IG stand for instance group. What is IG? I am editing for which cluster? My cluster only. And which one I am editing? Nodes I am editing. Not master instance. I am editing the node instances. What I am editing? Copy this one. Paste it here. Currently, how many nodes you are having? Worker nodes. Scroll down. Minimum is I am getting 4. Maximum also I am 4. That means it is going to recreate 4 EC2 instance. And what is the type of your server current T2? Micro. But if you want T2 medium, so go here and change T2 micro to T2 medium. And your servers is created on US East 1. Are you seeing subnet here? No, sir. If I want to make them to create an US East 1B, put 1B there. Like that, you can change the properties of your worker nodes. By using which command? Tell me this command. Kops edit IG. IG stand for instance group. It is the name of the cluster and it is the nodes. So now after you run this one, run the command kops update cluster. Kops update name of the cluster. Is it my name of the cluster or not, sir? And give hyphen hyphen. Yes. After you run the command, there will be one more command called kops rolling update cluster. If you run this command, now it is going to create 4 worker nodes. How many worker nodes? See, remember, the first command is this one. If you want to edit, give the command kops edit. After editing, you need to update the cluster. What you need to do? After updating the cluster, you need to roll the cluster. Roll means to apply the changes actually. And all this process step by step I have given here. If you go here, admin activities. If you want to update the cluster, run this command. Okay. If you want to update the worker nodes, this is the process. If you want to update the master node, that is the process. Now you go and see here. Previously, how many nodes you are having? 2 worker nodes, right? But if I click refresh, you will get now 4 worker nodes. Worker node 1, 2, 3, 4. How it is coming, sir? Automation, right? I just gone to that file and I changed the value from 2 to 4. Automatically servers got recreated or not here. So this is the advantage of using Kops. So simply what you can do is go to the command line interface, run that command, change the value. Automatically values are replicated to your servers or not, sir? Like that. Now if I run the command kubectl get node, how many worker nodes do I need to get now? Worker nodes only. It will get 2 only. It will get 2. Sir, there you are clearly seeing 4 nodes or not, sir? But why you are seeing here 2 means basically you create the nodes, but these nodes is not joined in cluster. Why? Because this nodes is still on pending status or not, sir? Initializing status checks. Once your 2 by 2 checks is completed, then this will join the cluster. Remember, what is the meaning of 2 by 2 checks here? First check is going to be your system check. Second check is going to be your instance check. How many checks? So if you want me to show, go for the checks here. Status and alarms. What is the first check here? System. Second one, instance. So system check means you can get the software and hardware. Instance check means simply your network actually. Okay. So this need to be passed, sir. If it is not passed for 2 by 2, it won't join on our cluster. So we need to wait for until you got the 2 by 2 checks here. Yes, as of now, we are not having any pods. We just cleared the cluster and I'm showing how to scale the cluster, Sunil. Okay. It does a scaling activity for your cluster. Are you getting 2 by 2 checks now? Now, if I go and run, KubeCut will get no. Will I get 4 worker nodes? Obviously, you can get. Are you getting or not, sir? So remember, while creating the worker nodes, immediately it won't join to the cluster. It need to pass the status checks 2 by 2. Once it passes the status checks, it's going to replicate or not, sir? That's it. So these steps I have written here clearly to scale the worker nodes. How to scale it? First of all, run the edit command, then update command, then run rolling command. And if you want to change any property on the cluster, kops update cluster -- yes, name of the cluster. Okay, like that. No, sir, if I want to delete the complete cluster, the command is kops delete cluster, name of the cluster -- yes. Okay, this I'll tell you later. How to delete the cluster. Why? Because we have some work with the cluster as of now. So I'm gonna show you how to delete the cluster on your upcoming sessions. So before I proceed for the next concept, kops introduction, cluster creation, cluster exploring, as well as cluster scaling. Clear for everyone here? Yes or not? Or what about you? Is the cluster concept clear for everyone in the session online? Can you please confirm me once? Fine. So now let's go and create some pods here. Basically, if I want to create any pod, I need to use a manifest file. So here I'm using abc.yml. So in today's session, we are going to speak about services. What we are going to speak about? First of all, what is the meaning of service? Very easy concept. Sir, currently, you are creating the pods in the replica sets as well as in the deployment. What is the pod means here? Inside the pod, we have the container. Inside the container, we are running the application. What we are running? So if I want to expose that application to the outer world, so in that case, we need to use services. Service is nothing but it is used to expose the application in. If we have any kind of service, that service. Okay. This main purpose of using services is to expose the application. So in that one, first of all, we have the cluster IP service. Which service? Cluster IP means it will work inside the cluster only. It will work inside the cluster. It will not expose to the outer world. Okay. So here, if you see, all of you know about the deployment code, right? Already we've seen. For the deployment, if I run the deployment, deployment will create the pods. Deployment create the replica set will create the pods. Now, if I want to create 3 pods, so here I'll put replicas. Now, for all of these pods, I'm creating the service. First of all, what are the mandatory fields in Kubernetes? API version, kind, metadata, API version for services, and kind. Service. Metadata means name of the service will be SV1. Coming to the spec here, type of the service is going to be cluster IP service. Which service? What is cluster IP here? Tell me. It works inside the cluster. It will not expose to the outer world. So coming to selector, sir, you are creating the cluster IP, but this cluster IP need to apply for which pods? The pod which is having app is equal to Swiggy. The pod which is having app is equal to Swiggy, apply this service for all the pods. Now if you go and see, the label and selector matching or not, sir? That means this service is going to apply for the pods which is having app is equal to Swiggy. Coming to the ports, what is the port number here I'm using for this service? 80. That's it. Now go here and try to run this one. Go and see here. So API version is app/v1. So for deployment already code, you know. So API version for service is v1. Kind I'm creating service. Name of the service is SV. Type. What kind of service I'm creating now? Cluster IP means work inside the cluster. And here I'm applying this cluster IP for which kind of pods here? Which pod is having app is equal to Swiggy. And after that, here I'm selecting ports. What is the port number here? I have the file. From the file, how to create the resource? Tell me the command. kubectl. Now you got the deployment and you got the service. What is the command to list the deployment? kubectl get deploy. You got the deployment. Now what is the command to get reply services? kubectl get SVC. Shortcut is. If I want, see, by default, Kubernetes will have the Kubernetes service. It's not our service. Don't worry about this one. It is our SV1. It is our service. kubectl describe. I am describing service. Name of the service is going to be SV1. Namespace. I am creating this on default. Labels, annotations. Okay, selector. What is the selector here? App is equal to. That means this service is applied for the pods, which is having app is equal to. Type. What type of service it is? Cluster AP. What is the port number here? 80. See, how many endpoints you are seeing, sir, here? 3 endpoints. First one is the endpoint for pod 1. Second one is the endpoint for pod 2. Third one is the endpoint for pod. Like how many pods you are having? For each pod, you will be having one endpoint. Now go and see kubectl get PO -o wide. If I go in here, I have the pods. First pod is running on this worker node. Second pod is working on this worker node. And third pod is running on this worker node. But here pods are running inside the pod. You have the application. But is that application going to expose? Why it is not exposing? Because it's the cluster IP service, which you cannot use outer world. If you want access, you can access from inside the cluster only. For that purpose, we don't use this service on real time to expose the application. So I'm deleting it now. How to delete? kubectl delete the resource from the file. What is the file here? If you run the command like this, right? Create is to create the service from the file. Delete is to delete the service from the file itself. Is the point clear for all of you? Good. Next one is going to be node port. What is the next service? VM abc.yml. Sir, code I am not changing, sir. Code is same code. Inside type, I am writing here node port. What I am writing here? In node port, NNP must be capital. And after that, if you go here, you need to write one thing called target port. Which one? Target port also I am giving 80. That's it. So instead of cluster IP, what I put here? So what I added here recently, target. Of course, target port you can give for a cluster IP also, but I haven't mentioned. See now, how does this node port apply means? See, it is my server. Inside this server, you are going to create the port. Correct or not, sir? So if I want to expose any kind of application, what exactly means happen? You know, it will select the port range, exact port range. If you go and see, I'll explain it clearly for you. it will expose our application on a particular port number. That means I have an EC2 instance. My pod is running on EC2 instance. In that server, I'll select exact one port number. Based upon that port number, my application will work. And what is the port range here? 30,000 to 32,767. That means in middle of this range, I can get any port number. Exactly, my application will run on that particular port number. I'll show it practically. But before practically, first of all, write this range, all of you. Range of node port is going to be 30,000 to 32,767. What is the range of node ports, sir? 30,000 to 32,767. That means in middle of this, I can get any port number and my application will run on that port number. Of course, even if you want, you can define port number like this, but I'm not defining the port number. I'm just running it randomly. For a cluster IP and node port, what is the difference? Instead of node cluster IP, I put here. That is the only difference. Now give the command kubectl create -f abc.yml. Give the command kubectl get svc. What is the port number I go? Have I mentioned this port number or it came automatically? You can define your particular port number or you can get the one random port number also. It doesn't matter. Now, what I'm gonna do is currently check. Give the command kubectl get po-o wide. Select this node ID. Go for your browser and exactly paste this node ID here. The moment if you paste your node ID here, it is going to filter this particular node. That means in this node that pod 1 is running. If you want to access the application, copy the public IP address and give that port number, sir. What is the port number we got? What is the port number we got? 32,000. This one, right? 32,327. Now, if you hit enter, automatically your application will come. But by default, it won't come. Check it out. Is it coming or not? Is it coming, sir? No, why it is not coming means the simple reason is whenever you create these worker nodes, this will come with the default security group. Security groups will not work properly. For that purpose, go for security. Click on the security group. Delete all of them and add all traffic. First of all, remove them permanently. If you go here, everything is custom here. Don't give custom. Delete everything. Click on add security group. Here I need to give all traffic. Custom anywhere. Now if I save this one, automatically click on refresh. Are you getting the application or not, sir? Again, if you go for your server number 2 also, in server number 2, one pod is running. In server number 2, if you want me to show, see. I want to see currently this pod is running on which node. Copy the ID. Are you seeing the ID? Go here. Check whether the ID is working or not. Copy this one. What is the port number here? 32327, right? Is it working now? So like this, what exactly happened means node port exactly find one port from range 30,000 to 32,767. In this middle range, automatically one port will be allocated and we are running the application on that particular node. Is it clear now? Even if you want to get, open your mobiles, all of you. All of you open your mobiles and try whether it is working for you or not. Don't type HTTP and all. Just try to check this. And online, even I'm giving this URL for you also. Check this out. Sunil, I'll tell you, okay, don't worry. Don't rush. There's the next concept, load balance this. Is the application working for you now? So like this, Kubernetes node port is going to work like this. By default, Kubernetes node port is a kind of service. It will expose application to the particular port number. But what is the range here? 30K to 32,767. But I read the node point. What is the node point here? I clearly mentioned. Remove all traffic, everything, and give all traffic and SH. But here we have the drawback, sir. What is the drawback here? Port restriction. Why? Because only we have limited ports. That is the limitation. And one more thing is, sir, previously you shown us how to run the application on the random port number. But can we define our own port number? Of course. For that purpose, give the command kubectl delete -f. I am deleting it firstly. Okay. And try to recreate. Now here go and type instead of target port, what I'm gonna put here? Node port. In node port, P must be capital. Sir, I want to run my application on 31111 port number. Now have I specified my own port number or not, sir? Kubectl create -f abc.yml. Now if you see, give the command kubectl get svc. What is the port number here? Is our required port number coming or not, sir? So now go here and just see 31111. Are you getting the same application now? How about in this server? Currently it will not work. Why? Because that got deleted. That port number is not working anymore. What is the latest port number here? I have given 31111. Hit enter. Is it working or not, sir? So even if you want to check on your local, you can check. Remove that old port number and give 31111. Check on your local, all of you. Is it working now? So like this, even if you want to change to some any other port number also, you can go and you can change, sir. Okay. So this is how it is going to work for you. Now I am giving the command kubectl delete -f abc.yml. That got deleted. Now here currently we seen which kind of service here? Node port. How node port will work? It will work for specific port. It will pick like it can pick any port number from 30K to 32,767. But what is the restriction here? Port restriction we have. For that purpose, we are using load balancer concept. Which concept? Load balancer means currently I'm having the pod number 1 and it's on server number 1 and I have the pod number 2 which is on server number 2. So if I want to distribute it, I have 10 requests to access the pod. 5 requests will go to the server number 1, 5 requests will go to the server number 2. That means to distribute the load equally for all the pods, I'm going to use the concept called load balancer. Which concept I'm going to use here? So if I want to get the load balancer, do nothing again. Just go to the service vim abc.yml. Instead of node port, what I'm going to put here? Load balancer. Just that's it, sir. Don't do anything. Just add load balancer. In load balancer, L and B must be capital. And remember, load balancer also required one port. If you specify, it's fine. Of course, if you don't specify, it's also fine. If you want me to remove this one, even though you can remove, you can make it running or you can make it remove. That's up to your choice. Now how to create the resource from the file? Tell me the command kubectl create -f. Is it done now? Now give the command kubectl get svc. Are you getting this DNS now? Wait for few seconds. It won't replicate immediately. If you go to your servers, if you go to here load balancers, in the load balancer, you can see some new load balancer. Previously, we were having only one load balancer, right? Click on refresh once. Are you getting load balancer number 2? So this load balancer, currently it is which state, sir? Check the state of it. It is still on creating status. Which status? If you wait for few seconds, this DNS will be activated. Copy this DNS. Paste it here. Are you getting the application running now? That means instead of accessing our application will be with the help of public IP address. Now what I'm using here, sir, which one is better? Giving public IP address to the clients or giving DNS to the client? Why? Because in DNS you can give www.google.com, www.swiggy.com. Basically here you are getting this much of DNS length, right? In real time, I'm gonna make it as www.paytmmovies.com. We can create like that. And the main advantage is it is going to distribute the load for all the ports. It is going to distribute the load for equally. So this is the concept of services. How many services we have seen, sir? 3 types. First of all, cluster IP. Is cluster IP going to expose the application? No. For that purpose, we are using node port. What is the purpose of using node port? It will pick any particular port number and it is going to expose the application to that particular port only. But what is the limitation? We have limited ports for that. For that purpose, we are using load balancer. Load balancer is going to distribute load for all the ports equally. Correct or not, sir? And for all of the services, template will be same. Only you are changing type, cluster IP, load balancer, node port. That is only you are changing. Apart from that, are you changing anything here? No. So this is the concept of Kubernetes services. Of course, we have one more service called Ingress. It's not a part of your syllabus, but I'll cover for you definitely. Okay, additional topic I'll cover for you. So now before going for doubts and queries, is the services concept clear for all of you? Or you are having any query? Online, what about you? Can you please confirm, is the concept of services clear for all of you or not? Fine. Nothing, Sunil. I just take the Amazon Linux. But if you want, you can take Ubuntu also. That depends upon our choice, whether to take Amazon Linux or Ubuntu. So that you are going to see on the Route 53 concept, Sunil. In Route 53, you are going to attach your domain. So from there, you can get everything. Okay. Fine. So in today's session, we have seen how to work with the cluster and how to work with the services. So now we have still 15 minutes of time. I'm not going to start any topic now. So this complete 15 minutes is for doubts and queries. Now, if you are having any doubts or any queries in today's session, online, you can raise your hands. I'll give unmute option for you. And offline, you can ask your doubts and queries. DevOps, how many topics is there? Lot of topics. Yeah. EKS, you are talking. Is EKS free or paid? Huh? EKS free, yeah. Paid. But for KOps, first one. Is EKS open source? No, it's a cloud service, but KOps is open source. That means you can modify it, you can edit it. Third one, with the help of EKS, you can create infrastructure only on AWS. But with the help of KOps, you can create infra on OpenStack, you can create on DigitalOcean, you can create on GCP, you can create on AWS. These are the major advantages. Okay. Sorry. Okay. In real time, which is using a simple question. Where you are living on? Maharashtra. Okay. Currently, you are living on PG, right? What's the dinner there? Dinner. No, just tell me, lah. So if we compare dinner for here in Maharashtra, you will have some difference or not, sir? So which one is perfect dinner? Here or there? Eh? There. But why not here? Eh? That means depending upon the place, your dinner is changing. Here also depending upon the company, tools will change. If you stay on Maharashtra till all these days, you thought dinner means only roti and like this thing. You will believe that is the only dinner. But you came here, you explore here, you started living here, then you came to know that okay, not only that like roti, we have some other dinners in India also. Same here also. For each and every company, there will be hell lot of tools. For example, I am using KOps in my company for one project. But for second project, we are not using KOps. We are using EKS. Okay. So depends upon the company, depends upon the project, your tools are going to change. This is again and again I'm telling. So in DevOps, no tool is fixed, sir. It's not fixed. Okay. Depending upon the company, this is going to change. If you are a full stack developer, wherever you go, you write Java code only. Wherever you go, for front end HTML, CSS, JS only. Wherever you go. Correct or not? Okay. If you are a Python developer, wherever you go, you write Python code only. But DevOps is not like that, sir. For each and every place, you need to learn the new things and need to work on the new things only. Okay. That's it. Definitely. So if you are a DevOps engineer, you must be ready for everything. See, currently I am working on my organization. If I go to some other organization, they ask me to work on a EKS. If I don't have knowledge on EKS, I need to learn from them. They will teach me. I'll say them till now, all of this is I worked on KOps. I know the KOps architecture and infrastructure, everything. But EKS new for me. Okay, right? In that case, they will arrange some KT sessions for me. They are going to explain me how the EKS is going to work when compared with KOps. Okay. So this kind of flexible they will provide for you. Hope it is clear for you. Yeah. Anuradha, SAR in S3 bucket created on US East 1 region. Does that mean after terminating the server, will bucket remain same? Yes, definitely, Anuradha. I'll show it. Currently, I'm having the cluster. If I want to delete the cluster, see, never ever delete the infrastructure manually. If you delete servers, it will be automatically recreated. It won't possible, sir. In KOps, infrastructure deletion automation will won't be possible. Why? Because everything will be automatically recreated. For that purpose, there is a command. Here, I have given that very, very clearly for all of you. Kops delete cluster command. Are you seeing this command? This command is to delete your cluster. With the help of kops, I am deleting the cluster. What is the name of the cluster? ramesh.kts.local. If you execute this command, entire cluster is going to delete within 2 minutes. How many minutes? Or like it won't take 2 minutes also, maximum within less than 1 minute. Your cluster is going to delete completely. Now see, if you go and check here, you won't see your servers running anymore. Go to your EC2 instances. So the moment currently these all are on which mode, sir? Shutdown. Within single command, everything gone or not, sir? Like that. So if you don't delete cluster like this, your cluster is not going to remove properly, sir. You will have lot of mistakes on cluster deletion. Okay. For that purpose, use kops delete cluster command. Which command? And your question, Anuradha, if I delete the cluster, will I have the like backup of my finals? Means yes, definitely. It is your S3 bucket or not, sir? Go for your bucket. Currently, as of now, are you having your bucket still here? Even though if I delete cluster, go here. Are you seeing your cluster? Click on this. Are you seeing the data here? Click on refresh. Where is the data now? But what is it, sir? Even though if I delete the cluster, I have the data backup or not, sir? But where is the data now? So click on show versionings. Are you seeing the data backup here? By default, the reason why I enable versioning to restore the objects. I delete the cluster, files will be gone. For that purpose only, I given the versioning enabled or not, sir? If I don't enable the versioning, how can I get the data back? Got the logic point now? That's it. Guys, remember, whatever you learned on today's session, it's a production level work. It is going to be very, very high end. Don't think it is confusing, okay? It's the depth concepts. If you're feeling something confusing, means it's not confusing, it's you are going for depth. I can teach basics, I can end the course, I can send you out of the classes. But that doesn't give you any satisfaction for me, first of all. Okay? I want to give you the best knowledge. I'm ready for it, but you need to be ready for it to take the best knowledge from me. Okay? If you put the projects, whatever you have done here, definitely you can get a job on real time. That's for damn sure. But the only thing is how much consistency you are, how much time you are spending on yourself for all of this. All of you are coming to the classes, right? But how many of you are going to labs? Raise your hands. Daily. Daily. 50%. Then what about remaining? Hmm? You're practicing on masters. Huh? Oh, hostel. Okay. Whenever you are getting in and out on hostel, what you are doing? How you are going to resolve it? Huh? Hmm. So, like it doesn't matter where you practice, just practice everything. Okay. I'll suggest you to come to lab. Why? Because in lab you have the mentor support. That's going to be advantage for you. So history I'm going to provide for you. So take this history and I'm going to upload this on your Google Classroom here. So now still online, any doubts or any queries from your end? We have still few minutes left. You can ask your doubts and queries still. So I have given the notes here. You can take it. How many topics covered? Everything is covered apart from Terraform, Sai Gautam. We have Terraform and AWS pending. If this Kubernetes is done, we will go for AWS concepts. If AWS is done, we will wrap with the Terraform. So if the Terraform is done, entire course is done. Okay. Sorry. Mm. Ah, yes. Definitely. You have the already files, right? In that files, you have the data. You can get that files and you can able to recreate the cluster one more time. It's possible. Then still any queries from you, both online and offline? Okay, is everything clear for you now? No doubts, right? Okay, then fine. So let's meet on tomorrow's session. Have a great day. Bye all. Thank you, all. Thanks for joining.